my honor to introduce Mrs. Erricka Wonder Voice Bridgeford. Everyone say it right what I'm saying.
Hi y'all.
Hey.
How are you? Good. My name is Erricka. So where do you want me to? I'm starting at what? How have I achieved my goals? I guess. I've been thinking about this question all day because honestly, there are so many of my own goals I still haven't reached. But I do know that the universe's goals have accomplished me. So what I mean by that is, I think because I was born with one hand, I have always had to know that I am something more than just what I look like. I've always had to know from the very beginning that I can't just be my body. I must not be just what people think about me because my body looks broken and lopsided. And people look at me. My mother was just telling me recently that she experienced a lot of what I was going to get my entire life when she first had me, because as a baby, she had to push me around in a stroller. And so people immediately looked at her like, you know, what is going on with your child? And so she said that to this day, she has a child who the world looks at and immediately says she can't. And so, because that's how the world looks at me, I've always had a struggle with having to go inside and find out who I really am. Besides, and I met somebody recently. Her name is April, and she, you may have heard about it because she was on TV a lot. She's a black woman and she had a flat butt. And you know, for black women, that's not acceptable. So she went and got, this is gonna go a lot better if y'all laugh at my jokes, I'm just telling you. Okay, there we go. Although flat butt is not really funny to a lot of people, but, so, you know, and she really, she's a cosmetologist, so she cared a lot about looks, you know, how she looked, when she went out of the house, how she looked. And so she got, some butt injections illegally.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, she ended up losing both her arms and her legs. Y'all saw this story? Yeah. I had the honor of, I saw her story posted somewhere, and I'm learning to follow whatever, I call it the quiet nudge. So you know there are things that you feel like, oh, you should do this, and you talk yourself out of it because either you're afraid to, or you have too many doubts, or you think, no, I'm not going to do that, I won't bother the person, or nothing is going to come of it, or whatever. So I'm learning to ignore all of my doubts and just follow the quiet nudge. So I had a nudge to just find her and contact her. And so I did. I found her on Facebook through her fan page, I think, initially. And then, and I contacted her right before or right after right before her story was about to air on Katie Couric's show, I think. And when I inboxed her, she immediately responded to me, and then we exchanged phone numbers, and we talk on the phone often. She is one of my favorite people in the world now, so I can't wait till I meet her face to face. But something that she told me that it took my mind a minute to wrap around is that because I was born with one hand, so she went through her whole life having all of her limbs, and now as a grown-up woman had to lose all of them, all because she didn't know who she was. All because she looked at what society says is beauty and what people look at you and say is good or not good, and she felt that her body somehow defined who she was on some levels, and that something was wrong with it, so she needed to go to whatever lengths to improve it. And that's how she learned that she was spirit. And so she told me that because I was born with one hand, that I know things that it takes people lifetimes to learn. And I didn't understand that. You know, like at first it took my mind a while to really wrap around that. But in this past year especially, I've really had to just accept that. Like, in this, being really honored to be chosen to come to this class was a big, like, it kind of brought everything together that I've been doing to say, no, for real, you the shit. You know, like, and I had not been accepting it or acknowledging it. You know, sometimes we think that humility is going, oh no, not me, not me. But I've had to learn that if I'm going to say that I'm made in God's image, then that means I existed before I took a body. I'm going to exist after I took a body. It means that I am everything that was, everything that is, and everything that will be. There's no way that I can be like God and made in God's image and not be that. It's like if you have a cake and just the crumbs of the cake fall off on the table, that little crumb is still made of everything that the cake is. And so if I deny that oh no, I don't have eggs in me. Oh no, I don't have butter. You know, like, that's stupid. You know, and so I've had to start accepting, wait a minute, what does that really mean to say? So whatever your perception, and for me, it's not a religious-based thing. I'm an interfaith minister because I believe that the all is wise and knows that we're going to find ways to try to be separate from each other, and religion is one of those ways. And so for me, I think that in every religion, in every tradition, love is the basis and the foundation of it. And so I'm an interfaith minister, mostly because I believe we're supposed to minister to one another. Thank you. So it's not because I think ministers are supposed to be better or outshine anybody, but I knew that I had to take my role of reminding myself that not only am I supposed to minister to people with my life, but that I'm supposed to constantly be ministered to. And I'm supposed to be reminded that every interaction, I never meet anybody by mistake, every interaction is a reflection of me, is a reflection of my wholeness. And it happens, of course, in times when I feel the most broken or I feel like I'm not doing as well as I want to. You always are going to meet people that remind you of what you really are. You're also going to meet people that remind you of what you need to fix, too, so you know. So I have been through a lot in my life. I have not always felt worthy of being whole and knowing that I was whole. When I was a little girl, I felt really good about who I was. My parents made sure that because I was born with one hand, I knew how to tie my shoes when I was 3 years old. I knew how to write before I went to school. I knew how to read before I went to school. I was talking before I was walking, and clearly I never stopped talking since then. But it was very important to them to let me know that I was awesome and that I was like everybody else, that I could do what everybody else could do. So I thought having one hand was really special. I thought this is my nub. I think nub is politically incorrect, but I don't care because I have one, so I'm going to call it a nub. Y'all can sue me for being politically incorrect. But because I thought my nub was special, and I didn't understand why y'all had all these extra fingers that, like, y'all really, didn't need, because I was doing everything and I didn't, see the big deal. And then as I got older, so I really felt special and loved and accepted when I was little. And then, you go to elementary school and children say whatever kinds of things they say to you. When I was little, my mother used to get really angry because I just wanted everybody to like me. So I would bring all my Barbie dolls and everything outside and, just hope that the girls in the neighborhood would just play with me and stay on the porch with me, and even when they were being mean to me. And my mother wanted to come outside and, be like, stop letting them talk to you like that, but she said that she had to let me learn on my own. And so, so I had to go through things like that on my own. But all through elementary school, basically, I had a few fights. It takes me a very long time to get angry enough like that. I hate fighting. So it takes me very long to actually get to that place. But I had a few. It's kind of hard to explain how the one-armed girl beat your ass, though. But I'm the only girl with 3 brothers, so that's all we did in the house was wrestle and board, and really a fight, especially between women, is about who is the angriest. And so if I've gotten to a place where I'm actually ready to fight, then it's not a good situation. But most of my elementary school life wasn't like that. Mostly I felt accepted and loved. I think like middle school was really hard. I went to Roland Park. And I felt crazy from like the ages of 12 to 15 anyway. Y'all know like your hormones and what people think suddenly becomes really important and all of that stuff. Hi! So I think definitely when I was about 12 is when I started viewing myself through other people's perceptions. And I started really forgetting that I thought I was awesome. And not from I'm awesome and everybody else is not. But I really, from the time I was a little girl, I knew that I was awesome because we are awesome. Not because there's anything different or special about me. The only thing that's different or special about me is that I'm one of God's expressions. And recently I looked up the word expression because I was like, trying to figure out like, what does that really mean? And expression is the process in which something in which something makes known its thoughts or feelings. So we are literally the way that the all or God or whatever you call it, we are the way that God makes known its thoughts and feelings. And ever since I was a little girl, I knew that had to be true because society was looking at me like I should be pitiful and broken, and I was the happiest little girl anybody had ever met. So I knew that I must be something bigger than whatever this body says or whatever people's perceptions say. But around middle school, if enough people tell you that you are something, if you are not careful, you will start to believe it. And so when I was about 12, I did start paying more attention to how people looked at me and what people said about me and how often people said I can't, or just because people didn't really, I could tell that they treated me differently. There's always a time when I meet people where I can tell the moment that they realized I had one hand. Because they're looking at me a certain kind of way and then something in their eyes will shift. And that's the moment I can tell. So that happened a lot in middle school. By the time I was in high school, I went to Western, which was an all-girls school, and that actually kind of helped me a lot because I was able to learn about sisterhood and being accepted in a different kind of way. In this society, as women anyway, we are socialized to believe that we are on a hunt for a man. We are on the hunt for the one, and that you are not happy until you find that one. So having one hand when you're growing up, boys are like, no, shorty. Like they are not, and even times when I was a teenager, I might be out like, okay, so I'm about to tell how old I am. So we used to go to Druid Hill Park every Sunday. I don't know if they still do that, and just hang out and ride around in cars and then go hang out in front of Odell's. I never went in, but we were outside of Odell's with our cars and stuff. And so, I would get all cute. Me and my girlfriends, my cousins, and we would, go hang out at the park and stuff. And so guys would like see me from afar and start smiling at me and like, oh, she cute, and and then by the time they would get to me and they would realize I had one hand, they would talk to one of my girlfriends instead and start having conversations with them. So when things like that happen to you enough in your life, if you are not careful, you will believe it, and you will start viewing yourself, and however you view yourself, that's what you are, And so it took me a while to realize that I did not pity myself. Like I went through for a while, for years, probably from the time I was 12 clear into my 20s. I was having babies that I felt like I knew I could physically take care of them, but I just felt like I'm gonna mess these kids up. They're gonna be on Oprah telling stories about, just how I wasn't present with them and just all kinds of stuff because I had so much of my own emotional baggage, just feeling broken and feeling like I wasn't worthy, feeling like I wasn't enough. And so, down to taking a trip to the psych ward. Like I tried to kill myself one day. I went back to Belmont Elementary School because 10 years old was the last time I could remember really loving me. Really just like, oh, you are so good, 10 years old was the last time I could remember really feeling that way. And so I was having whatever hard time And I went and sat in front of Belmont Elementary, and I took a 24-pack of Tylenol, the nighttime ones that put you to sleep, and that wasn't good enough. So I downed it with NyQuil. To this day, I cannot take NyQuil, or I will get sick and be ready to throw. The body is an amazing thing. I will protect you from your own stupidity like that. But so I have that trip to the psych ward, that breakdown, that breakthrough. Ever since, from day one on the psych ward, I told people, if you have not had your breakdown already, I don't know what you are waiting for. It is the truth. I would prescribe one. If I was a doctor, I would prescribe everybody that, I would prescribe everybody, whatever you think is you. And I know it sounds weird, but I found out that I was supposed to kill whatever that was that I thought was me. I wasn't supposed to kill my true self, but all of the things that I thought were me, it was time for that to die. And so then I looked up what death really is. And death from a Buddhist perspective is when the causes and conditions cease to be conducive for something to stay in its current form. So I mean, there are not enough things left anymore for you that are conducive, that will uphold you and maintain you in that present state. So whatever all of the stuff that was feeding me, my doubts, my fears, it was that picture that I had of myself, it was time for that person to get on out the way so that I could really show up. But it was in that car, in that psych ward, as I went yelling and screaming into University of Maryland, screaming, I can't find me! I can't find me! That's when I found out that even in your ashes, God is there, ready to just build you back up. And so, kind of from that moment, I really started just viewing myself differently. You know, like a little bit before that, I was trying to break out of, I used to do this thing where I would walk through a crowd on this side, because it was just easier to get through without seeing people's looks and opinions and whatever it was they thought about me. And so I would walk on the long side. That way I could just be accepted and not have to worry about what people thought. And then one of my cousins got killed in 2005. And his sister wanted to go to Florida, for her birthday, right after that, to just, celebrate life and for us to just get away. And while I was in Florida, I said, I'm going to get a tattoo on my short side. Since people are looking at me anyway, I need them to really, okay, you looking, look at something fly. Right? So I got a tattoo on this arm. It's a tribal tattoo. It means happiness with the butterfly in the middle. And so it was really more for me as a reminder to make myself walk through a crowd on the side that looks broken. So that when people think they're looking at brokenness, it will remind me to shine. I think it is an awesome responsibility that I was born this way. Because I have a choice. I have a choice to either look like what people think, or because people are looking at me all the time, I have a choice to say, since y'all are looking, what are they going to see when they look at me? Are they going to see a reflection of brokenness and their own insecurities and their own pity? Or are they going to see a reflection of their own light, of their own joy, of them being everything they could be? And I'm very aware, I used to not like it. But now I'm very aware that people look at me and they say, well, wait a minute, if she can go through life smiling, whatever I'm dealing with, I need to let that shit go. There must be something else. If she can go through. And it's not just, you think that you can look at people often and tell whatever their stuff is. You really can't, because you can't look at me and tell that I got raped by one of my best friends in my house. You can't look at me and tell that years later when I saw this man in Lexington Mall with my children and he was strung out on drugs, that it broke my heart that he was strung out. Because I knew that what was going on inside of him was that he was seeing himself through all of his mistakes and all of his choices. And that's why he thought drugs was all he was worth. Although he raped me, I wanted him to know his light and his shine. Why? Because I've made mistakes in my life. You can't look at me and see that I've had an abortion. But it's true. One of the hardest things in the world was the doctor saying, oh, before I do it, you want to look on the sonogram and see. I don't know if you ever, but it's not good. So it's not just about the things that happen to you that make you believe something about yourself. It's even our choices we make. We live in a society that tells us we're only as good as whatever choices that we have made. We forget that if we are made in God's image, we are born new every moment. Every moment. I don't care what you did last week. I don't care what you did a few years ago. I don't care what's on your back right now. You have the choice to create your experience every single moment. And that is the only thing that if people look at me and say, oh, she's mastering something, the only thing I have mastered is keep getting up. That's what I have mastered. I have mastered that no matter how bad I feel, no matter what I have been through, that there is nothing that defines me in a moment. Moments add to me, moments help me learn things, but there is nothing that makes me stop right there because I'm eternal. And so if I really believe that I'm eternal, one situation does not end me. If I leave this body on my way home, I will still be joyful and happy because I will know that I'm still going to be doing whatever my role is, whatever my work is to do in this universe. I don't need a body to do that. As a matter of fact, you need to understand that your body can't even hold you. Everything that you are, your body cannot contain the magnificence and the greatness that you are. And I found that out when I was fighting for the death penalty in this past year. So my brother got murdered in 2007, and in 2009, somebody came to me and said, oh, they're looking for people who have had someone they love murdered, but they're against the death penalty, right? So that's a bizarre person in this society. Most people think, oh, you killed somebody I love, that's it, you need to fry, right? And if I'm going to keep it real, when he first got murdered, it's a good thing I wasn't a boy. Because I had a mindset of, oh, we don't even worry about it. We don't need to talk about who did it. We don't need to, because you know the police still to this day haven't found out who did it, but the hood knows who did it. And so, yeah, I had all of those perceptions and those feelings and things, choices that I felt like I wanted to do. But I had to learn, even through that most tragic situation, you got to be careful what you say about I. If you say, I am sick, I am tired, I am depressed, I am, whatever it is you say after I am, you got to be careful about that. So if I say I am looking for revenge, then revenge takes up all of the space that I need to heal. If you have ever lost anybody close, I don't care how you lost them, you know that it takes every inch of your energy and your being to just wake up in a world where you will never see that person again. That takes a lot of energy. There were some mornings I woke up out of my sleep already crying. Brushing my teeth was like, yeah, I'm not doing that shit. No, I'm going to be right here. I'm not going out there. It's not fair that the world just keeps going and I'm never going to hug my brother again. What is that? Right? And so taking that story and somebody coming and saying, hey, oh, you're still against the death penalty although your brother was murdered? Yup. And it was an awesome opportunity to take something that a girl from West Baltimore, who definitely should be on some revenge, got to go to Annapolis on a regular basis and stand in front of senators and tell her story and say, no, revenge feels like power, but it's actually darkness. Your light is in your healing and your forgiveness. We live in a society that tells us that violence is power, and then when people use violence as power, we kill them and put their bodies in the corner. We don't heal the things in our society that create murderers. But yet we want to just write them off and put them in the corner. No. And I wasn't fighting against the death penalty because I believe fighting against something is more violence. I'm not going to try to fix something with the very thing that created it. So I wasn't fighting the death penalty. I was just showing up and speaking whatever was put on my heart to say in the moment. And that's all I ever do. I don't feel like I do anything more magnificent than anybody else. All I ever do is no matter what happens, I get up. When I'm laying in my ditch in the alley, broken, I get up. I try. I believe that my littlest tries are blessed. The littlest things that I think mean absolutely nothing, that shit changes the world, I'm trying to tell you. Because it doesn't just change my world, it changes somebody else's world, who touches somebody else, who helps to heal somebody else, people I will never meet. So I haven't mastered anything that you don't have inside of you. All I'm learning to master is to recognize your light when I look at you and honor it with my own light. All I'm learning to do is work on my judgments of people, whatever they wearing, whatever they doing, whatever they saying. How is that my business? If I'm not showing them love, if I'm not giving them my shine, if I was born in this body for people to look at, isn't it my responsibility that they see light when they look at me? Thank you. Yeah, it's not just me, it's 4 women we are co-hosts. And so this stands for discussing important situations honestly. And so we talk about, it's a show by women, for women, with a no male bashing policy. Right. So even when we are talking about things we've been through, we believe we're supposed to take ownership and responsibility. If you keep finding no good men, that's about something you think about you.
I didn't hear that.
If you keep finding no good men, that's about something that you think about you. That's what you are attracting, that's what you are finding, that's the lesson you keep recreating over and over in your life. So we really do not bash men, even if we're talking about things.
You might as well turn it on.
Y'all can find it on YouTube. Yes.
One last question for me.
Yes.
Where do you see yourself 5 years from now?
That's so funny. Somebody just asked me that in another interview a few weeks ago. 5 years from now, I see myself being unafraid to say everything that I know to be true. Because even still now, I'm afraid of what people might think or how they might take it, or, and I'm very aware that a part of my role in the universe is to speak unseen things physically, into this physical, and I know to articulate unseen things because I say it in a way that people they recognize it inside of themselves. And still, I know that a part of that responsibility is you can't just wake somebody up like that, because then it would scare them. You can't just turn on the lights real fast and say, wake up, wake up! You can't do that. People have to be, you gotta wake up slowly and gently and lovingly. And so there are still some things that I don't know how to always articulate or to say in a way that I think won't scare people. And so 5 years from now, I believe that I'm going to have done the healing inside of myself, that I'm able to articulate truth on a dime all the time, no matter, and have compassion for how people might receive it, but not be so worried about how people receive it that I don't still shine.
That's right. You are truly an inspiration.
Thank you.